Hi, friends, and a very pleasant good day, and welcome to 15241 Today Talk. Jim Render and I both feel strongly about the fact that it is right and fitting that we at times shine the spotlight on those men and women that have done so much to teach our young people in Upper St. Clair. And so we are honored to have with us today a woman that has taught for 35 years in the Upper St. Clair School District. I'm talking about Pam Dillie. Pam, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
At what point in your life did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
Very young. I'm the oldest of six, and I think my mother would say I was about 4 years old, and I was bossing everybody around, and I was going to be a teacher. So that's been my goal my entire life. So I just love it.
And what is it about teaching that appealed to you at such a young age and has been such a reward for you?
Right. Being the oldest of six children, I was the second mom, and I was always, like I said, bossing everybody around. And I just love helping people, and I love kids. I just love teaching children and making them be the best that they can be. And I've never really changed. I've always loved teaching from a very young age.
As those second and third grade kids that you've taught, has that portion of teaching changed over the years, or the second and third still pretty much the same as they were?
They're still very sweet and innocent, but the technology has definitely changed with our children. They're a lot more savvy than they were back in the day because they have all the iPads, computers, and things to look at and see a lot more than we could see at that time. But still very sweet and innocent, very loving. They still want those hugs, and that's why I want to, be back hugging those kids. So.
Do you use the iPads in your classes?
We did last year a lot because we were, if you remember, last year's situation was hybrid a few days, and then they were remote a day and in and out of school all year. So the kids had iPads. It was called a one-on-one initiative. Each child had an iPad to use when they were home and when they were at school. This year we're trying to get away from the screen time and do more personal interaction. We're trying to get back to somewhat a normal classroom now. But they're still there. We still use them because the kids are just so tech savvy right now. More than we were, more than I am. They can help me with the technology in the classroom.
Yeah, that would be me.
The kids are great. If I have a problem, I'll say, hey, Susie, help me, and they'll come over and they can fix it more than I can, so that's great. I'm sure that's the same way with your grandchildren.
That's an understatement.
I'm fortunate to be teaching a couple days a week at Waynesburg University. And one of the things that I stress to my students is to not lose sight of the fact that what education, to me, should be about is the gathering of knowledge.
Right.
Your approach to what do you think are some of the core issues as it relates to teaching?
I think that the children have so much access now to learning about knowledge. But it's very easy to pick up the iPad or the computer and just search for knowledge. I want them to learn how to learn, basically. Be able to understand how to use the tools that they have to research and find information. So really, back whenever I first taught, the teacher was the main vessel for learning. You sat up in front of the room, you taught, they had to learn. Now we're there to help them learn themselves, to be able to pick up information and learn how to learn, basically. Does that make sense?
It sure does.
Right.
One of the things that always impressed me about Jim as a coach was that he had this tremendous ability to make the guys that were not the stars on the team, the regular players, feel as important as the stars,
right.
the guys that were playing all the time.
Right.
How does one deal with the fact that there are some real good students in the classroom and some not so good?
Right, and that's the good thing about having a heterogeneous classroom, which is a mix of different levels of children. And we have the older children, the children. Well, I'll back up to our two things I've done. In my classroom, I try to group the children into certain mix of students, and a lot of times that some of the children that may be brighter than others will be mentors to some of the other students, and they help each other and they learn how to help each other and how to be mentors. But also over the summer, I run a summer STEAM camp for Upper St. Clair with some fantastic teachers. And we group the children in the STEAM camp, kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth graders all together in one group. So my fourth grade students are my mentors for my first and kindergarten students. And that really works out. That's wonderful to watch those older kids be the stars. They're like the helpers, the mentors, the big brothers, the big sisters. So I do the same thing in my classroom basically every day. I try to have them as much as I can with COVID, because you can't work in teams for very long. But I want them to help each other and work as teams. And cooperative learning really shows the kids a lot. They can really learn a lot from each other. And they really don't know in third grade who the better students are, to be honest. I may know, but they have no idea. They're working with a teammate, with a friend, with a partner, and it's just wonderful to see that. So.
That's an interesting point. So you're saying that you could identify the better students in third grade. Are you always, as those students evolve throughout their educational time, are you always right about?
Not necessarily, no, because children change, students change. Some students I may have felt that maybe weren't as strong at one point turn out to be superstars when they get older. Everybody matures at different levels and get their strengths at different times in their life. So I may have a judgment call in third grade to think maybe a student might be a little stronger student, but I could be very wrong down the road. It's okay, because everybody grows and changes, which is what we want to happen as they mature.
You commented in your text to Jim and me that the pandemic has been challenging, but you also said it's been most rewarding.
Right. So something that I brought to show you, as a matter of fact, last year...
you came with a prop?
I came with a prop. To
me? Okay.
Came with a prop.
You might be our first guest ever that came with a prop.
With a prop. So when we left in March 13th, we walked out of the building last year, and it was supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve. As you remember, the kids left terrified. Their eyes were just shocked. They didn't know what to do. It's never happened before. And these kiddos are 8 and 9 years old, and they left the building terrified and didn't come back till the next fall. We planned a program very quickly. As our director of technology, Ray Brought, says, we built the airplane as we flew it. And that's kind of a great analogy of what the school system's been over the last year and a half. As we went through, we built what we were doing, basically. So last fall, we were coming back to school, either hybrid, which is 2 days on, 2 days off, fully remote, or fully in school, or a mixture. We didn't know. Didn't know what we were going to do. So we were developing the program last summer, the team of teachers and myself, the principals, administration, fantastic group of people that were helping me do this, and came up with a plan with the kids in school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday was our asynchronous day. They were all home. They were taught somewhat live and then somewhat asynchronous, which is through videos. So I decided that I would make Wednesday become Wacky Wednesday, what we called it.
What would you call it?
Wacky Wednesday.
Wacky Wednesday.
Because I'm a little bit wacky. If I've had your children, you know I'm a little bit of a crazy teacher.
And we're taping on Wednesday, too, by the way, folks.
So it was called Wacky Wednesday. So I developed, along with some great people, some science videos. And I can show you my wig if you want to see it, my props. I had my Einstein wig, so I was the Wacky Wednesday teacher.
So you were Alberta
I was
Einstein.
Alberta Einstein.
Alberta
so I was
Einstein.
Wacky Wednesday. I had that, and I had my lab coat. And I filmed different lessons in the township. I did different science lessons every Wednesday. One was the Dicoca Mentos traditional nucleation experiment, it's called, about leaves changing color. We made ice cream in a bag, different science experiments that could be done at home, because the kids were then at home. We were at school teaching live. So these videos were made, and the kids were, again, they left school in March terrified, if you remember. The very first video was the Dicoca Mentos. So they watched me on video. I'm doing my crazy nucleation experiment with my wig on and my lab coat. And I got about 100 pictures from my families in Baker and Eisenhower and Streams with these kids laughing and smiling and having a blast. Outside, if you know what the experiment is, you put Mentos and Diet Coke and it explodes everywhere. And it's done outside, not in the kitchen. But I had so many pictures come back from families and emails saying, thank you for this Wacky Wednesday video, because it was wacky, it was crazy. The kids loved it, they had fun. They were laughing outside, having a blast. And I thought at that point, okay, we can do it this year. We can make this work, because these little science videos every Wednesday that were so silly and so wacky, the kids loved. And that really made it to me feel very rewarding. That the year really felt like, okay, we can do this year. These kids are going to love this little science. And it was silly. It was nothing. It was just a little video that was just fun. And they loved it. So that made it, to me, a very rewarding year because I felt like I made the kids smile and laugh and have a great time. Again, because they really weren't having fun from March, April, May, all summer because we were quarantined, remember, and just COVID wasn't fun for the kids. So this little bit made it rewarding. So anyhow.
Pass your wig over to Jim. I want to see
Jim.
what Jim.
No,
I want to see what
Come
Jim
on.
look. Come on, put the wig on. I
on.
want to see what Wacky Wednesday does to Jim Render.
Come on, Jim. You can do it.
And this might go virus, you know,
Viral.
as opposed to viral.
That's the COVID virus. Right?
Come on, let me see this.
Let's see. Coach Render.
Can you
There you
imagine
go.
you showing up at a football practice like that?
No, I can't.
Huh?
I can't imagine that.
He's so great. Well,
Linda Dunzinski, make sure you get a picture of that, okay?
Too late.
too late.
Too late, okay,
Well,
all right.
And the videos were shown in all three schools because it was kindergarten through fourth grade, Baker, Eisenhower, and Streams. I was getting recognized out in the township, just saying, no, wait a minute, you're a teacher, you're a baker, you're the Wacky Wednesday lady. And so it was really kind of fun to
The
see that, the
Wacky
Wacky Wednesday lady. So, but anyhow, that's what made it so rewarding to me was to see.
Let me
the
have
kids
that.
smile.
Let me have that wig. I want to wear it too for a minute. I want to see
You
what
good?
if I look.
Better.
That little bit of wig made it crazy. Here we go.
How's that? Huh?
Wacky.
Huh? Look good.
It looks great. You should have done your announcing with that on, right?
Oh yeah. It's.
You look more comfortable
That's
than
right.
I was.
I'll have to take that down to Waynesburg
There you
sometime.
go.
That'd
Take
be
it into your
great.
classroom.
Yeah.
And now my students this year want me to bring it out again because they know me from last year's videos. So they want me to put my wig on this year. So I only do it at certain times. It has
You
to be
have
just
to.
special
You have to.
events,
You
know.
have to.
But anyhow,
Interesting as a follow-up to what you're talking about. Newsweek magazine recently did a story about, and the bottom line to me, this story was, young people may be benefiting from COVID issues because they're going to be learning resiliency, learning how to be resilient in life. Would you buy into that?
I guess I could see their point with that. I guess. I struggle with the personal connections we're not making. As a teacher, I'm a very huggy teacher. I love the kids, like I said. And I think the personal connections we're missing. I need to, like, figuratively get the mask off, and hopefully, and we can get back to the personal connections with the kids. Mask off, both literally and figuratively. The resilience I know is there, because we do teach our kids in the classroom to have grit and to be determined and perseverance and learn how to struggle with a problem and work through it. But I don't know if I agree. I mean, I see their point, but I think I'm more worried about getting these kids back and the personal connections we can make with them we're missing, I think.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to take you back a lot of years, I guess. Tell me about cursive.
Oh, yes. And cursive's still in the classroom. We're still teaching
I
it.
thought we weren't.
Upper St. Clair's teaches cursive still. Because if you think about, there's a lot of documents in history that are done in cursive. Declaration of Independence, for example. They have to be able to read cursive, so we do teach it still.
Well, I think that's great.
Not like
myself,
we used
but
to. Like whenever we learned, when we were in school, it was very strict, half-hour day of cursive. Now we do teach it, but it's taught upon lightly. But we want the kids to understand it and be able to read cursive, so they do learn it still. Yeah.
When you say lightly, what do you mean?
We, like, back whenever I learned cursive or we learned cursive, you might spend a half hour a day with lessons, and now we spend probably 5 or 10 minutes a day on cursive. So they're taught it, but it's not. If you think about the children now are learning on word processing, they're learning how to type, they're learning on their iPads, they're learning computers. They don't need cursive like they used to. Good or bad, positive or negative.
I remember my second grade teacher, she would actually get mad if we didn't bring the last letter
Right.
of the word with upswing.
Right.
And then a couple of years ago, I read, well, they weren't going to teach cursive
A
anymore.
lot of schools haven't. They're not teaching it anymore, but we still teach it. So.
You touched on STEM and STEAM earlier. STEM is science, technology.
Engineering and math.
and math, and then STEAM is?
You add the arts, because we're very much
Add the arts, okay.
very arts driven in our district, which is great.
Okay. How did we progress to that aspect of education, and what benefits, what has it done for us relating to education?
Okay, I think the STEM initiative has been across the country, obviously, over the years. And Upper St. Clair has added the arts, the STEAM part to it. And I think it's the way that kids learn. I think it makes them think. Obviously, I love science, the scientific, technology, engineering, math mind. I think it teaches kids, like you said, about learning how to think. I think that's what's important with it. So many jobs right now in the future are going to be STEM driven or STEAM driven. Things we don't even know are there, as they say, will be the new jobs for the children. I think it's nice for them just to learn. It's also a lot of learning to work with partners, cooperative learning, working in teams. That's an important skill to learn and for the future the future jobs, is learning to work as a team and cooperative learning. And I love this. The STEAM camp we've done also that I mentioned before in the summertime has brought about 100 children from the district into a summer camp. And they want to be there, which is really nice. And they learn the different skills to working together.
Does recreation ever come into play?
But with this camp, it does.
Does it?
Some, yes, it does. But it's not as much as it used to be, which is unfortunate. We don't have as much recess time and gym time as we've had in the past.
Are you still as excited about teaching
I still am.
as you were when you started?
I think so. I still love what I do. This Wacky Wednesday last year was crazy, but made it all worthwhile. But no, I still do love my job. I always have. My husband, Doug, always says he's had a career and I've had a passion, which I think we all have in our jobs, which I love to hear him say that, because I do have a passion for what I do as opposed to having a career. So that's, to me, is very important. I still get up every day and love going to school, so
That's great.
it's awesome.
That is great.
Yeah.
And when you and your colleagues get together, wherever it happens to be, do you spend a good bit of time talking about where we are as educators and where we're going? And
Sure, we do. We have our meetings, through school, especially the past year with the pandemic. We've had to change and grow and learn so much with the changes in everything. I mean, having our classroom live streamed every day to parents at home was a change for all of us, especially somebody my age to go in and learn all that new technology. It was great, but it was fulfilling to think like I could do that and use all that technology and be able to have my classroom live every day to the parents at home. It was very different.
Do you mentor some of these young teachers
Yes.
that are coming in?
That's a great thing about Upper St. Clair. When I first taught second grade back in 1978, I went to the superintendent, went through my final interview. I was given about 7 teachers' manuals and said, here, go ahead and set up your classroom. And that's what I did. Well, now if you're a new hire in Upper St. Clair, you have a veteran teacher that works with you for 2 years and walks you through everything, which is a great help. So I've been a mentor teacher for many young teachers, and they've taught me a lot because they know a lot of the new technology and things and the new way of thinking, the new way of teaching, which I don't know. But so it works both ways. But I have enjoyed being mentors to
My
the
guess
teachers.
is you teach them more than they teach
Well,
you.
I don't know about that, but but it's been fun.
you mentioned your husband, Doug. What does he do
Yes.
for a living?
He's an engineer. He works for Eaton Corporation. So he's working out of the house right now, but he loves doing that. He's happy to be home working out of the house and works with Eaton Electricals, who he works for. So he was also my videographer for my Wacky Wednesday videos, and he did all the taping and all the editing for me. So it's been fun.
And you and Jim were talking before the show.
Right.
Big Buckeye fan. Huh?
Ohio State, he pitched at Ohio State back in the day, and still Buckeye fans now. So,
Did he have a chance out of college to go and play pro ball?
he was a left-handed pitcher, and
There's always the need
he
for great
did.
left-handed pitching.
He did have a little bit of a tryout, but he decided to go and be an engineer instead. I think he now thinks he wished he would have tried, just to go into the minor leagues and see what happens, but didn't do it.
Where'd you two meet?
High school sweethearts. So
What high school?
at McGuffey High School. Long
Two were
time
both
ago.
from McGuffey.
Both from McGuffey.
High school sweethearts?
We met in 6th grade, to be honest.
Oh,
We met in elementary school, and then we dated in high school and got married right out of college. So been together 41 years now, so long time.
Tell us about the boys.
So I have 2 sons, Brent and Scott, both went to Upper St. Clair, as you know. Very involved in sports. Scotty was on the soccer team that just got in the Whitfield Hall of Fame. His team was very successful. Played basketball and soccer. Brent played basketball and soccer and travel baseball when they were younger. Both went to VT, played soccer, Virginia Tech. Brent met his wife, Amy, my daughter-in-law at VT. And then Scott's married to my daughter-in-law, Alex. They met in Washington, D.C. So no grandkids yet. We're still waiting, but they're doing very well. Brent's a chemical engineer, and Scotty's a financial planner. So
you said Brett is in Upper St. Clair.
they both were in Upper St. Clair High School.
Oh, they're both in, I know, but I mean,
Not now.
Brent's in Richmond, Virginia. Lives in Richmond, and Scott lives in D.C., Washington, D.C. So
and they both went to Virginia
yes.
Tech.
Yes, they both played soccer there. They both were there during the shooting that happened, as a matter of fact, which still makes me very sad to think about that. They were on campus that day, and we knew early on they were both safe. So it wasn't as traumatic for us as it was for the other 32 awful families. But it was a very sad time for us. But again, going back to learning to be resilient, I think they learned what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say. They learned a lot from the shooting at VT, and how to overcome, a very sad thing in their lives. And really, I think it's made them stronger people. So.
We had another Upper St. Clair boy there close to Danny Cafaro. Do
Yes,
you remember Danny?
that's right. Danny was there also.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Scott was also the basketball team
Right.
he played on his senior year. They were WPIAL
Right.
champs.
Right. He had a very good class of athletes. He was both of my boys were good athletes, but they were also surrounded by a great group of friends and a great group of athletes that were very successful as a team. As you know, you've coached them. You know how teams work, and they were both on really great teams. And we had a lot of friends we have now were made during that time with great parents that we worked with. We're all friends now still. So great teams.
Now, you and Doug live in St. Clair.
Yes.
What are the advantages for a teacher living in the district in which he or she teaches?
I sure could go both ways for people. They would tell you it's a positive and a negative.
Absolutely.
For me, it's been very positive. I have been successful here as a parent. I love knowing the people here. I love going to the pool and seeing Upper St. Clair families, going to the mall and being recognized by people. I see my kids everywhere. I went to a wedding 2 weeks ago, one of my students that I had a long time ago. So it's been great to be that close. It's family. Upper St. Clair's family. Baker, my kids went to Baker. I teach at Baker. Baker's been family, and that's what I feel like when you live here. It's like you have surrounded by a family. There could be some negatives, I'm sure, too, with being so close to that situation I just described. But it's never been a problem for me. It's only been positives.
Well, I guess I would think that it would be mostly a positive that here you've got your teachers that are in the district having an investment
Right.
in the quality of the education.
Right, exactly. And I'm very happy to be there to help make our district better. So it's exactly right. And I feel very proud of being an Upper St. Clair teacher and being able to live here and raise my students here and be part of what makes us so successful.
So at one time, were you teaching your sons?
No, I was at Fort Couch at that time.
Okay.
So when my kids were at Baker, I was teaching at Fort Couch. And then as Brenton went to Boyce, I switched to Baker because they didn't want to have their mom as a teacher. That could never happen.
Oh, really?
So I went from Fort Couch to Baker then. And then I've been at Baker the last 20 plus years. So
Well, what would you have thought about having the chance to teach your children?
they wouldn't have been in my homeroom, but I would have had them maybe for math or reading or for science class. It would have been fine. They would have been fine with it because I think they know that it's their mom still, but they would have been perfectly fine. It just would have been probably a little bit uncomfortable for me to have my kids, I guess, as a student. But people now have their nieces and nephews, I think, that happen in the classroom, and it's fine.
Do you think that over the next 5-10 years, we will see another major shift in education and theories about what, or is it still pretty much the basic tenets that we've all believed in?
I think it's still the basic tenets deep down inside, especially for elementary school. But I wonder what's going to be next, though. I think things have changed and are always evolving, which is good. I was thinking that this morning before I came here, like, what's going to be next in education with the children? Because now they're all on their iPads and they're all learning technology, but they still love to just sit down with you and read a book. Like, my kids love to have stories read to them. They still love to read. They still love the interaction, the personal connections that you give them in the classroom, but you can't teach that. That's something you just have to do as a teacher. But I don't know what's going to be next. I wonder what's the next level of change is going to be. I don't know.
Do kids, are there some kids that don't want to read? They'd rather go on their iPad
Sure.
or something like that?
That's definitely was a concern of ours last year, with the amount of screen time the kids had during the pandemic. But it was what it was, because that was the situation that we were all in, with the learning that was done. But I think kids still like to have a good book that read to them. Reading with Grandma and Grandpa, reading a story, I think that's just really important with children.
And does it matter what they read, or just the fact that they're reading?
Well, it depends on the level of student, but I think, any book that they would read that would be appropriate would be fine, just as long as they're reading something. Some kids want to read on their iPad still, I worry about the screen time with their eyes still and the vision. We don't know how that's going to play out with all of this, but I think reading a good book is just great with them. The classics are great with the kids. They love to read the stories that maybe we read when we were children, and they aren't exposed to them now as much. But I think things are cyclical too, like we know in life, and I don't know where education's going to go. I don't know. I'm just curious to see where we'll end up.
What's your long-term plan here? How many years you want to go?
Going to retire within a couple of years, I think. Waiting. Whenever my kids have grandkids, I think that changes everything. Now we're waiting. Don't know what we're going to do. If we're going to retire, go somewhere else. Doug's a big golfer, my husband, as you know. I love the beach, so don't know. I also want to work with student teachers. I want to work at Pitt, and I went to Duquesne for my administration degree, so I want to go back to Pitt or Duquesne and work with student teachers, help mentor them, maybe teach some classes collegiately, some teaching of education classes, and just relax a little bit and enjoy life some.
That would be different than teaching secondary.
I think it'd be fun to teach. You teach at the college level. I think that would be really interesting to teach college students for a change, to go from 9-year-olds to 20-year-olds.
There might not be much difference in some cases.
I think so. I really, I do want to give back. I'm very much a person that feels like I'm a giver, not a taker, always have been, and I want to give back to the field of education by helping student teachers and helping in the college level. So that will be how I end my career, I think. Who knows? Things change, I guess, right?
Yeah. But you're not a person that's just going to fold your tent and sit down.
I don't sit still very well, no. I'm a mover, so.
And most beneficial that if you indeed continue to have this wonderful philosophy about wanting to mentor young teachers, and as you've done before, but now in a situation where it'd be less official, right. I would think that'd be tremendous for you and for them.
Right, it'd be very fulfilling, I think. And the summer STEAM camp that we've done now in St. Clair for the last 6 years, I want to keep doing that when I retire even. I'm going to work on that. The STEAM camp's been fun because we've visited certain landmarks in Pittsburgh as part of our STEAM camp. This year was STEAM camp was based on PNC Park, so we did all about baseball. We've also gone to Kennywood Park. We did STEAM camp at Kennywood Park and learned about roller coasters and how the physics behind roller coaster design. So I still want to keep doing that. I want to do that every summer. I think it's nice to see the kids love STEAM during the summer months when they're off. And that about mentoring the fourth graders with the first graders is just so nice to see that with the different ages together. So I'll be doing that still.
Have you noticed her enthusiasm?
Oh, yeah.
I should have hired you as a football coach.
And a sitting ovation for Pam Dillie.
Thank you.
Pam,
Thank you
congratulations
so
to you for your tremendous career
Thank
and
you.
for joining us on the show today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here with you too. So thank you very much.
Pam Dillie, our guest on 15241 Today Talk. Linda Dudzinski is our coordinating producer. Glenn Ward is our director and producer, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much.